We wanted to create a fun, non-judgmental space where women can talk about their shared experiences.
Here, we will normalize the challenges we face as females living in a society that dictates unrealistic and outdated expectations on what a woman should be.
Together, we hope to cultivate a supportive community of women who empower one another to courageously live unapologetically.
A quick disclaimer before we get started. Although Cindy and Danielle are licensed therapists, this podcast is not to be interpreted as therapy or a replacement of therapeutic services. It is strictly a conversation between two women about their experiences in the world. If you like today's episode, please make sure to like and subscribe below. Also, follow us on all of our social media platforms at Unapologetically Females. With that being said, we hope you enjoy this episode.
We're back for another episode, and we are excited to have a guest on today. Cindy, would you like to introduce our guest?
I would love to introduce. This is Jamie, and Jamie is, amongst other things, well known as Teacher of the Year here in our community, and just a super inspiring woman, part of our Inspiring Women series. And we wanted to call you here today just to talk about the different aspects of your life that have been challenging as a woman. Maybe even start with why you became a teacher, and just kind of dig into you and who you are, and just highlight all of your accomplishments.
Holy cow. Okay, so first off, I'll take the inspiring woman. That's a very nice compliment. So I'm old, so that's a really tall order to start. So how I got into teaching was I was a third grader, and my teacher retired. And so she was giving out all her teacher books, like the teacher's editions with the red writing, with the answers. And so I took those and I started making my dolls learn how to read, and then there was no turning back. Here I am. I just finished my 27th year.
Wow.
Teaching. So,
What grade?
I've been teaching kindergarten for 7, then I taught third grade for 20, and then I did second grade for 3. We looped. We did second and third grade. So.
Wow.
So yeah.
Kinder is I feel like that would be so hard. Just 5-year-olds are just they're 25 5-year-olds. It's it's not the one 5-year-old. They're cute, Yeah. The one 5-year-old's fun. The 20 plus seems daunting.
It's funny. Well, ask Cindy. I mean, Cindy was my substitute teacher for a little bit when I was on not maternity leave, when I was on leave. But when I went down to kindergarten every year, August and September, I think, why did I do this? Because that's so hard. And then when they start reading and writing, it's just amazing. So, but every year in August, I cry because it's really hard.
The very beginning of the
we
school
teach
year.
Everything: how to pull out your chair, how to walk to the bathroom, how to use the bathroom, how to hold a pencil, just all those things. So it's just a little daunting, but I love it. I love it.
But her kids just have this. I mean, she has this command. They just listen to her. I mean, for the most part, there's always a few kids that have a hard time sitting in their seat and things like that. But just the way that the families talk about you and the way that your kids talk about you is just as your friend, it just makes me so proud of you.
Oh, well, thank you.
Yeah.
I mean, hopefully I've gotten better at it over the years. So hopefully I'm good at what I do 27 years later. So.
It was big shoes to fill to stand in for you. So,
well, you did a great job. It was very comforting knowing that they were with you. So that's also a hard thing, leaving your little babies.
That's kind.
Have you been at the same school for?
Sure have.
For 27 years, the same school. That's incredible.
The funny
so you
story.
Are it's an understatement to say that you're well known in the community, because I think that it's my daughter has a kindergarten teacher that incredibly impactful in her life, is also I feel like a celebrity in Gilbert.
Mm-hmm.
She is just, and the kindergarten teacher that everybody wants, that, same, sentiment as you, of you've made an impact in people's lives, and people want to be in your class. It's people
Everyone
are probably
asks
going
for
to the school, maybe boundary exceptions. I don't know if they do that, but to get into your class, I just feel like it's so rare. Those special teachers, that's such a gift, especially at that age, at kindergarten, to be able to set students up and kids up for that experience in school is just, it's incredibly special. So, I mean, that's amazing. 27 years at the same school, you've clearly left an impact.
Well, I mean, it's definitely home for sure. And when people talk about kindergarten, I just keep thinking, if I didn't do all those things and their first experience in school was not good, I would be devastated.
Yeah.
Like my nephew had a horrible, not here, there in Washington, had a horrible kindergarten teacher would say things like, don't raise your hands if you don't know the answer, and like things like that. And it's taken years and years. He's now in high school and he still hates school. So I just feel like if I don't do this at kindergarten, I'm in the wrong profession. It's clearly not for the money.
Wow.
So, or
You're
the
not
perks.
you're telling me you're not loaded?
No, no. I mean, I last day of school and I have 1 week off and then right back into summer school. So, I mean, it's just definitely not, you're not in it for that reason.
Right.
So I would hope people feel that way about me, because I would hope I'm doing what I am setting out to do.
So how many years ago was it that you got Teacher of the Year?
I looked at her. It's right
I thought
before
you
I got sick. So is it 4 years?
4 years ago.
I think it's been 4 years.
4 years.
So how does one get nominated for teacher, or how does that, what's that process?
I'm willing to bet she gets nominated every year. But
So that's not true. It's basically all the teachers on campus all nominate somebody, and we try to do so it hasn't been somebody who's been nominated before. Right? Like we try to make sure that everybody kind of gets a chance, and then it narrows it down to the top 3, and then everybody just votes. And then every school in Scottsdale does that. It's funded by our Scottsdale Charros Foundation. And the Charros group comes out and we have like a banquet and whatever.
They also do Student of the Year in the Scottsdale School District, at least, right?
I think they still do. They would take them to the baseball game and things like that.
How
and
do
then
you get
Charros,
Student of the Year?
well, Charros also does like student scholarships and things like that as well. But
What's the scale to be Student of the Year? Like, what are you measuring?
I don't
So
know. Our
curious.
baseball, we used to take, our Charros used to take our kids who needed a little extra love, or maybe wouldn't be able to ever afford to see a baseball game. And so we would nominate students, and then Scottsdale Charros would pay, and then we would have a teacher go and or our AP would go and take them on a field trip, and they go down to the baseball stadium, and they get to do the whole baseball game and meet all the players and all that kind of stuff.
That's cool. I was curious if it was like the kid that is like the valedictorian.
Oh, I gotcha.
It's kind of the kid. I think it's the principals that nominate them, and it's kind of the kid that does all the stuff.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, they're amazing. Charros is an amazing foundation.
Yeah.
I love that. So you were mentioning that 6 years ago you got sick. And so I know nothing about your story, so I'm coming from a completely blank slate. So I'm just gonna ask questions about, because I know nothing. This is how Cindy and I roll with interviews, is we don't tell each other anything about the episode. So
smart.
If you're like, wait a minute, why are you asking me that?
No,
It's 'cause I truly don't know.
No, I don't mind as long as I don't bore anybody and people don't fall asleep. So, no, I think it's been 4 years. Yeah, because I haven't gotten my 5th year yet. So I had breast cancer 4 years ago, and for one of my surgeries, that's why Cindy stepped in, and she was my long-term sub. So,
Wow.
but yeah,
What was that experience like?
Being sick or
The journey.
the journey. That's a long story. I lost my mom to breast cancer when I was 19. So this is going to sound ridiculous, but I always knew it was coming for me. I know that sounds stupid, but so of course I was terrified of it my whole entire life. And then of course I ended up getting it. And I've had amazing doctors who've kept me very healthy for the last 4 years. And the big year will be next year when you turn 5 years. That's when you get to kind of celebrate.
And we will throw a huge party.
And I'm turning 50 also then.
It's not as bad as it sounds.
So it'll be a big year. It's a big thing. And my mom passed when she was 50. So for me, hitting my 5-year mark when I turn 50 is a big deal.
Absolutely.
So knocking on all the wood and all the
100%
things.
understand that. My dad passed away when he was 40, and for me to get past 40, I was like, ugh.
It's a thing, right?
Yes, I could breathe. I was like, okay, I'm good.
Yeah.
But for some reason, as a child or as a young adult, you think, well, that was their life sentence, so
Right.
it's going to be my life sentence.
Yeah. It's funny because I'm not like a dramatic, oh, woe is me person. I just was like, it's just going to happen. So anyways.
She was very private about it, and just was a total boss in the way that you handled it. And not because you were private about it, just because never once did I ever hear you complain, or, you really didn't talk much about it. And I think I
didn't talk
probably
about it.
tried to make you talk about it more than you would have liked.
I think I needed time to be able to get to that spot. So like when I got diagnosed, like I said, I knew it was coming, and it was COVID. And we were doing a virtual faculty meeting. So I was all alone in my classroom on like the TV when my doctor called me. So long story short, I left school. I went home, and I shouldn't be saying this, but like I had a night with Jack Daniels, and I cried and cried and cried and cried. And my poor dog was like, not knowing what to do. I probably drank a lot more than I should. And then I got up the next day and I went to school, and then I made all my doctor's appointments. Like Cindy knows, I think it's because I'm a single mom and because I'm a teacher, it's all about what's my to-do list. And so like I just made my to-do list and all the doctors I had to call and what I had to do. And then I got to work, but I allowed myself to have my night. And then of course other nights would pop up and there'd be lots of crying and
I would hope so.
lots of tears. But I didn't tell my daughters about it for a month.
Oh, wow.
Because I wanted a surgery date. Like I wanted to have the surgery date, and I wanted to have all my scans done before, and I wanted to be able to sit down and be like, this is the plan. Because I remember being a little kid when my mom got diagnosed. My dad told me that my mom was going to go to the hospital and be in the hospital for a little while to get something bad removed. And so when I went to go visit her in the hospital,
make up your
I
own
thought
story.
she was going to have no arms or like, so I was like checking my mom over for eyes. And my mom's like, what are you doing? I just was trying to figure out what was removed. Cause I think my dad was trying to keep it, you're a third grader, simple. Yeah. And that messed me up.
Right.
So I didn't want that. I wanted to be like, this is what I'm doing. This is what stage I'm at. This is what my doctor thinks. And I just wanted to have, and I don't.
You talk to them like young adults. You laid it out like.
Yeah, and it didn't go so well. But, one was mad that I didn't tell her ahead of time. And, there's no winning on that one.
Sure.
But no, there's no right or wrong way to do it, I don't think. But.
No. And I just had to do it the way I needed to do it, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
Yep.
But
how far along, like stage-wise, were you when
2.
they found? Okay.
Just stage 2.
So then what was the kind of course of action, and how long did that last? Like, how long was your treatment?
So I was grateful to catch it early, and the only reason why I went to stage 2 is because it went to one little tiny lymph node.
Okay.
But I had a double mastectomy. I had tumors on both sides. And then when I went and had my surgery, they were able to remove the lymph node that had had jumped to, but it was a teeny tiny bit amount. And so I just had to keep going in for scans so I could avoid chemo because I did the double mastectomy. So I didn't have to do chemo. And then I've been on a couple therapy medicines since then. They're very diligent watching me, and if I don't have good numbers, then it's back in to do this or back in to do that. So I've been good so far, just on a lot of meds to guide me that way, and I have great doctors.
Yeah. Well, we're very grateful that you're here with us today.
Yeah.
I'm grateful
and
too.
Healthy.
Thank you.
Yes.
Life is hard, but I like it, and I want to be here.
Yeah.
Yeah. How
we
old
want
were
you here.
your daughters when you were diagnosed?
Let's see here. So one was 16. One hadn't even turned 16. She was about to turn 16. And then so the other one was 12. 15 and 12.
Okay. So old enough to understand and also understand enough, and then also it'd be incredibly scary. Old enough to have enough information and
Yes.
experience. Were they were they around when your mom passed away?
No.
Okay.
I was 19. I was young.
Okay. So they didn't have that experience.
Well,
but
and
they knew.
No.
this is their mom. Like, this is
Right.
their rock, right? And you mentioned you were a single mom. So you were a huge force in their life.
For better or worse. and I do, and without sharing too much, but like my older daughter, that was COVID time, and she was really struggling with her own mental health, with things going on with divorce and the disease and COVID. So I think she just had a hard time wrapping her head around it because her head wasn't able to wrap her head around a lot of things.
Yeah.
She was struggling with her own stuff.
Sure.
But they were both amazing. At that point they were still seeing their dad, so they would go a week on at my house, a week on his house, and they were just really good at checking in. And then once my older daughter got her license, and it was grocery runs, and so she was helpful that way. But yeah, it was just That was just an icky time for everybody.
Yeah,
It just
it
was bad
was.
timing.
It
You know what I
was.
mean?
When you
Can't even
said,
imagine.
you know, it was, you know, 5 years ago, it didn't click. COVID, like you then add that layer, like the layer of COVID is
just its whole, like I tell people, so our dear friend drove me to my first surgery, and at that point, nobody was allowed in. So I literally had to get dropped at the curb at the Piper Center and wait in the waiting room by myself and be in triage by myself, come out of surgery. I stayed at the hospital for 2 days, and like my daughters couldn't come visit. So I was Skyping them in bed. Like it was just, and then I keep thinking, well, was that maybe for the better? I don't know.
Right.
But it was just icky. I just remember sitting in the waiting room. The lady next to me was just like looking at me, and I'm looking at her, and then we both started to cry. And then we both sat by each other, and they're like, you can't sit by each other. You have to be 6, seats apart. So we were like leaning across, holding hands across the 6, because we were both scared. We were both terrified. But, but like
what
I said,
an image that is. Like, and I think that we forget, it's been 5 years now. Well, I don't even know now how long ago social distancing like stopped ish. I went somewhere the other day. I don't even remember where, but there was the stickers on the ground where you are, supposed
it's trauma.
to.
It's totally trauma inducing, isn't it?
I looked down. I'm like, oh my gosh. There's but how all of us were impacted in different ways, but not one of us was immune to being impacted in some way, shape, or form. And I think, as you're sharing your story, it's like, geez, people that are newly diagnosed with, not even newly, I mean, just diagnosed with something too, but like you're now going into this uncharted territory, and now your community is now others who are also in this because you can't have your family and like your people with you because they can't go in the hospital or they can't go, it's like, it just blows my mind. I don't know if we've really talked about the outcome and the consequences of the experiences that we have had during COVID. Yeah. Like I gave birth with a mask on. Like I totally forgot about that until my son's birthday was in April, and we were looking back at pictures of the day I had him, and I'm like, oh, that's right.
Because you blocked it out.
I had a mask on.
I think we blocked that part out.
Yeah. I remember I pulled it down. So like in the picture, it's like on my chin.
You're like, I'm trying to breathe. Pull that down.
Yeah.
Right.
But even that, but like that picture of you in my mind of you holding hands with a stranger, that it's just like.
It's really a beautiful story though.
Is.
And it's also,
it was terrifying.
It is.
It also like speaks to women, I think, as nurturers and caregivers that you guys reached across for each other, and like we got each other, right? Like,
and you know what? Not one word. I'll be honest. We didn't say one word.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Sometimes I think about like, oh, I wonder, I should have got her name. How is she doing? But like, I think we were both wrapped up in our own little thing. But
of course,
yeah, men wouldn't do that for sure.
I don't think. I mean, maybe some would, but I think that's a female trait.
For sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. A powerful one.
The treatment and journey, I mean, as far as like illness and things like that, were you able to work during it? How was that for you?
So I originally had planned to take, so many weeks off for the first surgery, and then had a couple complications. So a couple of days after my first surgery, I had like what they call necrosis. So all my skin up here died after the surgery from the trauma. So I had to go back into surgery and get everything removed. And so that delayed my return to school. And then it was towards the end of the year. So I came back with just a few weeks at the end of the year,
just a few weeks.
Maybe 3 weeks, 2-3 weeks at the end of the year. And then I had the summer to kind of recuperate more. And then I've just had a supportive staff, and my principal's been good because I have to, for the last several years, I had to leave once a month to go get a therapy shot, at a certain time, and doctor's appointments and things like that. So it's just been nice to have that. And I also don't feel good on certain days, or I have a med that makes me sick, and if I don't take a pill at a certain time, then I get sick, and I can just text and somebody runs in, and I'm very lucky that way.
Yes, but let's be clear, you give them so much more than probably you understand, so I'm sure that they are very happy to do that for you, and
well, I hope so. Thank you.
Move mountains for you. Yeah.
Well, thank you. I mean, because I can't be like, hey, kids,
Right.
I'll be right back.
Right.
Especially at 5, right?
Y'all sit tight.
Y'all sit tight, you know. Teach yourselves.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But that I've been lucky on that front. And I've had good numbers this past year. So, like, I'm grateful. And some days I forget to be grateful. And so, you know.
We all do.
Right.
Yeah,
We
we're
just
only
did
human.
an episode on that. Yeah.
Really? Yeah.
Yeah,
That
on
makes me feel
gratitude and
better.
how important it is to remember to have it, right?
Yes.
To live in that space.
Yeah.
Yeah, in that energy. Yeah.
Well, I do, not to get off topic, but that's one of my nightly prayers. I do like the now I lay me down to sleep. And then the next line is, you know, thank you, Jesus, for the blessings of this day. And some days it is so hard to find even one thing. I'm like, it was nice weather, you know, but it's something. And I think that makes me,
Right.
you realize, because in some days I'm like, oh, I listed a bunch, right? Like,
Right.
oh, okay,
It was
you know.
a good day.
And just because I'm tired or stressed doesn't mean like my life is hard. You know, because I think sometimes we get that confused, stressed with being unhappy in your life.
Absolutely. Oh, that's such a good point.
Trying to guide my teenagers through that right now.
Absolutely.
Yes. And stress isn't always negative, you know.
No.
Just like anxiety isn't always negative.
And it's
or-
also temporary. You know, it's
yes.
temporary. So it's a hard lesson as a teenager.
Even as an adult.
Yeah. I mean, as an adult, yeah, it's hard as an adult. But I mean, even I could. As a teenager, that's like so hard to not think that this isn't my life forever. you know?
Forever, or I'm never going to get out of this.
Yes.
Or it's not worth fighting for, or like that whole stuff. And
Thinking
like
in absolutes.
Yes. And like I try to tell my girls, I'm like, look, like when I got diagnosed, like I was divorced, I was renting this tiny house, I was in such financial ruin, and you know, I left my divorce with nothing, and I was like, but I didn't get diagnosed to be like, oh no, you know, I'm giving up type of thing.
Right.
So like it's just there's always something.
Right.
And I think they have a hard time with their frontal lobe not being developed, that they're not ready to see that yet.
How old are they now?
20 and 16.
Okay. So, at what age were you when you got divorced?
Me?
What age were they? I'm sorry. Thank you.
We don't have to ask you. I mean, you already gave your age,
Girls,
but
you didn't tell me to come ready for math. Come on. Let's see here. So it's been 8 years-ish, I think, since we got divorced.
So you've been single mom in it for 8 years. We'll start there. There we
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
And then they've been living with me full time for the last 4. So single mom for 8 years, and then little added bonus there for the last couple of years.
Got it. Okay.
single mom.
But
So what has that been like for you? How have you navigated the single parent life and working as well full time, to giving all your energy to a room full of 5-year-olds and then having teenagers at home that need your energy as well? How have you navigated that?
probably not very well. And, you know, and like I said, like my daughters will be like, Mom, don't you have better, you need to set example and talk good about yourself, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. But I always tell my parents that I always say parenting, like parent, it's a verb. It's not a noun. Mm-hmm. Like it's parent is something you do. It's not something you are, right? Like you have to do it. And if it's hard, you're doing it right. And so I try to tell my daughters, I'm constantly looking for ways to do it better because I feel like I'm not. Because I have tried for years to fill a hole that I can't fill.
Sure.
On top of that, I work and I'm tired and I'm broke all the time. And so I work extra. I don't just teach, I tutor and teach summer school. And they get the raw end all the time.
Do they though, or do they see an example of a mom that is just going to town to do the very best you can for them?
I think maybe they will one day see that. But I think right now, I mean, they are just kids in Scottsdale, right? Yeah. So like they're surrounded by friends that don't have these types of worries, right? Where money's not a worry, or they don't have a trauma from a divorce. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So like I think sometimes they are not woe is me kids. They're amazing girls. I am blessed beyond belief, even though they're pains in the butt. They are amazing. But I do feel like that has to be something that they know. Like they know it's different for them.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
They both work and they both have to help, you know, pay for their gas, and there's just things that they have to do because I can't physically afford all the things.
Right.
And we don't go on fancy vacations, and we're always the broke people on the block. So so.
I think too, as moms and as parents, we are so hard on ourselves, and our kids are hard on us too, because they haven't been in our shoes yet. But what is hard to explain to kids and young adults is you guys didn't come with an instruction manual.
No.
Right?
And it changes.
And we're human too. And we're learning right alongside of you of how to do this. And we're going to make mistakes. And we're going to suck at this sometimes. But sometimes we're going to celebrate because we did good.
Absolutely. I saw a great meme the other day that was basically saying, like, I'm not giving advice to my teenagers because I know better. I'm giving you advice because I have failed more than you have. Like, I've been around longer and I failed more. And that's why I can give you advice. It's not a judgment thing, because sometimes I feel like my daughters feel like I'm judging them. And I'm like, but I also was a teenager. I mean, it doesn't look like it, but at one point I did also go to college. And, so...
Right.
But yeah, we are hard on ourselves. I think it's a woman trait and definitely a mom trait. And I have a little Italian Catholic guilt genes on top of that really, nail that guilt in there.
Really packs the punch
Really
at the end, right?
Just gets in there.
Right? Oh, that's the worst. I get that. But I think my daughter is 9 and I feel the same way of it's like, you're, judging or you're, lecturing. Like, and I recently said what you just said to her of like, believe it or not, I've been 9 once. Like I've, I get it. I've also tried to get away with the things that you want to try. Like, been there, done that.
Yes.
Like,
and that's why I know, because I have thought that way.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it's like, but I think, I don't know, did we talk about this on our last pod, on one of the last pods, but about, you truly will never understand until you're in it, right? So it's like I reflect on my teenage years, my early 20s, and some of the struggles I was going through and how I felt, and like thinking in absolutes and feeling anxious or feeling depressed and feeling this will never get better, and all of those things, and my parents are just out to make my life hell.
Yep. Nothing better to do.
Yeah. I remember my brother and I literally used to always tell them when they asked us to do chores that they only had kids so that we could do stuff for them.
Well, I believe that truly still about my mom.
I mean,
I will die on that hill. I swear she did.
But it's like that was our perspective, and nobody could tell us otherwise, right?
yes. And times were different then too.
Sure,
Right?
Sure.
Yes,
But
for sure.
You truly don't understand until you live it, right?
Yes.
And so it's so hard to teach that concept of like, this isn't forever. So yeah, I think it's just been it's so hard to try and give the messaging to your kids that, like, look, I understand, I've been there too, and this isn't forever, and this doesn't last forever. Or even like something as a parent that I've learned of, and just like the worry that you have about your children
All the time.
And
They will never understand
will
that.
never
That's all they're-
understand.
I'm waiting for that phone call from my
Yes,
girls. That's
I'm
like,
telling
Mom,
you.
Billy hasn't called and I don't know where he is.
Yep.
And I'll be able to say, he's fine or they're fine. But,
Yes.
now you know
Yes.
what I felt like.
It's like my teammate just had a baby, and we're just like, we miss the days of the big worries of pooping and sleeping and right.
Yeah,
like
'cause-
now we have big humans with big worries,
Right.
and I miss what I thought was so hard when they were babies.
Yeah.
But I would take that in a heartbeat, like the easier. They didn't sleep through the night. They're still not sleeping through the night, and they're 20. So
Well, that's a whole nother
a whole different story.
A whole nother
Sleep
reason.
never gets better.
Yeah.
And we were just raised different. Like I
Right.
was
Yeah.
raised, my dad's a Navy man and Catholic household, and we were just raised to be respectful. And I try to tell my girls all the time, like I was raised, and my mom was sick all the time, so I was always like, she was so important to me and such a big part of my life. I could never imagine being rude or disrespectful. Like I was just raised that way, right? And so like sometimes when my girls just act like normal teenagers, I'm like, I would never have said that to my mom. Like I can't even imagine.
Right.
Or
Well, you had a whole nother level of responsibility with your mom being sick. And I would guess that probably adds a lot of compassion and empathy to the way that you are with your kids in your classroom too, just kind of understanding that maybe things at home are
Yes.
are hard, or maybe there's something going on that I don't know about. And
Yes.
so if you're acting up this week, I don't know what that is, but I'm here to be your person if you need it.
Absolutely. And like they say, like, you know, kids who are loved at home come to school to learn. Kids who aren't loved at home come to school to
give
love.
love.
Like they
Yep.
just need.
I just read that the other
And
day
you
too.
remember, you know, I had a little challenging one when you were there, and you know, being raised by a mom who had no business being a mom, and that just makes everything else impossible. Like I can't teach you any of that math, reading, writing, algebra, because you have all that other stuff going on, which is what I think our kids that are coming through COVID are experiencing. You know, my kids, the hardest grades at our school are the kids who were kindergartners during COVID, because we weren't able to, like, we had to sit at desks away from each other with masks on, and they didn't have group playtime, you know? So I feel like they missed so much socialization
Right.
for years.
And I was long-term subbing during that time too, and it was, none of them had been to preschool. So preschool is kind of the step where they go to learn to socialize with each other, to share, to sit in a chair, to, you know, not break their crayons in half and cut their hair off with scissors, you know, all those things. None of them went to preschool. So now all of a sudden the kindergarten teacher's job was to teach everything that they needed to learn in preschool, plus
Yes.
kindergarten, plus whatever it is that, you know, you have to complete by the end of the year.
Well, because we added the social emotional part, which is gigantic, but we never backed off the academics. So like we had our academics was so high focus, but then we also tried to add the, you know, the SEL learning in there, which is important, but you know, we can't do it all.
Do you think that school, the way we do school right now, is outdated?
Meaning, like which part of it? Like how the academic piece of it is, or
The academic piece, the length of day, the 5 days a week,
The homework thing
the
is a big thing for Danielle.
homework. Yeah, sitting in a chair for 8 hours.
Absolutely.
You know, all of that.
because kids aren't how they were when we were kids, right? Like it's so different. And we also have to be able to think outside the box. Like we talk a lot about like funding and, you know, doing things like at different days of the week and whatever would be beneficial for funding. But these kids also can't do, which is why we have such an attendance problem, because kids just can't do 5 days a week. And, you know, some kids have so much other stuff going on that school's not important. Like they are huge.
Because they're going to be the next,
Yes,
you know,
Michael Jordan.
superstar basketball player. Exactly.
At second grade.
Yes. The attendance, we interviewed a teacher recently, and she said she had a parent come in during parent teacher conference, kindergarten teacher, and the parent asked what rank their kid was in the class.
Oh, we don't rank kinders. Oh my gosh, no.
And I'm like, that's amazing.
But that's what it is, right? So like you have the parent here that doesn't necessarily know how to parent quite yet as a kindergarten parent, right? And so they're overwhelmed with everything. You know, the homework, I do homework, but homework is never due at a certain time. So I always say practice makes better. So you have homework is a practice of a skill. I don't care when you do it, just practice it, turn it in. And then you have the other mom that's like, I need an extra workbook. I need more worksheets. I need more work for my 5-year-old. And I'm like, they should be picking their nose and, you know, painting. The kids don't know what crayons are. They freak out with glue on their fingers because they don't do crafts at home anymore.
They
My
haven't
girls
had
were raised with
scissors, they
easels
haven't-
and, right?
sure.
It's just different.
I saw, did someone send it to me? Maybe someone sent it to me. It was I don't know, a reel, a TikTok, something. It was a video of a mom. And so because it's the end of the school year, there's all of these posts, right, about parents with, you know, different things. And this one was about, I guess the kids came home, and which my daughter just went to her end of the school year assembly. And apparently, I didn't realize they still did this. They give out attendance awards. Which I think is just amazing. I just think it's amazing that we give out that award.
She's being like sarcastic.
I get it.
It's not amazing.
quote unquote amazing.
Yes. And then this video of this mom was like, my kids will never win this award if my kids just don't want to stay home because they're sick, because they don't want to go to fucking school. They just want to hang out and lay in bed with me all day. My kids don't get to stay home. Like,
She was just done.
She's
just done.
She's like, it was just hilarious because I'm like, it's the way that life is now and the world is, and the things that our kids experience and the pressures and the social media and what it's done to the brain, just so many things, mental health, all of that. I'm like, yeah, the whole perfect attendance thing is just so, I don't know. The fact that we celebrated, it's that whole concept of celebrating being tired, right? Like celebrate overworking, and I'm not saying like I am a hard worker. Like I would say I have a ton of grit. I am resilient, like all of those things. I absolutely believe in hard work, and I expect my children to be hard workers. Like I have that standard. It's just not with perfect attendance. Like that's not like I expect them to give their all when they go to their extracurricular activities, or and we can all have off days though, and we can all have bad days, and we have them, and that's okay, and it won't last forever. But I'm like, just this grind of like. Yeah, that's what we're celebrating.
It also.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. It also goes back to what we were saying. Like we don't know what's going on at home.
Yes.
And so the child that doesn't get the perfect attendance award isn't because they're choosing to be absent.
Right.
A lot of the time, it's because their parent didn't get them there that day.
Yes. And that's the hard part with elementary.
Yes.
They're in middle school too.
And so it's not the child's fault that they don't have perfect attendance most of the time. Well, it's not at that age.
It's not. Yeah.
Yeah. And so to award a child who's there every single day, and then to have the child who's like, well, my mom is homesick with cancer, and so there are days that my dad or my mom just can't get me there, and but now Johnny's getting this certificate, and I didn't get a certificate, and so what's wrong with me?
And we don't do perfect at our school. Thank you very much. We don't do perfect attendance. We do ROAR awards. Our awards are all based off of behavior and character and whatever. And we have a huge focus on attendance in Scottsdale School District right now, just because of COVID. People were thinking like you don't have to go to school every day, right? Like because they weren't doing school every day at home. So we're trying to backpedal and get people back into school 180 days of the school year. So schools are tracking their attendance as a whole, but not an individual.
Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Unapologetically Female. If you liked this episode, please tune in next week for part 2.